Hey, great day. This is Eric Neller with Living Water. Wanted to bring you some shocking news. Just imagine if you walked across your building, your facility, and this is what was on the monitor. Breaking news: heartless terrorist kills over 6,000 people today, mostly children. Set for another attack tomorrow. Stay tuned. And then, as you're still trying to figure out what does this mean, where is this, what's going on, then you get a text message. You feel that vibrate. Look at your phone, and it's your wife, and she said, "Did you see this news? He's in your building." Well, that changes everything, doesn't it? Well, we're here today to talk about a terrorist for sure, but a different kind. So I'm going to bring you back to relaxing a little bit, and we're going to talk about something that's so simple that you're missing it. I'm Eric Neller with Living Water, and we're going to talk about water. How does this relate to shocking news of a terrorist? Well, I'm going to make the case that within your facility, you're being terrorized. How? Let's talk a little bit about it. Again, it's my job to take something that's out of sight and make it top of mind for you today. I'm going to shock you and rock you a little bit and tell you some things that you're probably not aware of, with the hopes that we're going to be able to help you overcome some of these things, and we're going to make everything a lot clearer and better for you. So let's get started a little bit here. When I talk about water, why is water something we should even be thinking much about? Here in the U.S., we don't have this challenge, but as mentioned, there are 6,000 children a day that are killed related to waterborne disease, and we're fortunate that we've been able to overcome that challenge in the near term. We have other issues with health and water here in the U.S., but here's why. Water is the universal solvent. It picks up everything it goes through, from atmosphere, then down on to the ground, on the ground, in the aquifers. Whatever it's running through, it's accumulating as a solvent and then bringing with it onto its next stage. So how's that going to impact you? Well, let's take a look. It's the one thing that impacts everything. See, what we've got here is the iceberg effect. And here's that terrorist. We're going to get introduced to him here in just a minute. It's calcium scale, because along with anything else that the water picks up, calcium by itself isn't a bad thing, but when it precipitates or falls out as calcium scale, it starts to terrorize your building, your facility, everything that's in it. What if you pick up a wine glass? You're trying to serve a real nice fine dining experience in your facility, in your property, and this is what you pick up. Now, does it really matter what color the wine is once it goes in there? Does anybody really want to drink out of that? Probably not. How about this? Ever walk by a faucet and see that? Well, if you're in a hotel or a restaurant and you saw that, you probably have some thoughts in your mind about, wow, why don't they clean this place? And although scale in itself might not be a problem there, it is a hotbed for bacteria, and first impressions mean a lot. You know, a lot of times perception is reality. So that's going to be a problem if somebody complains or doesn't want to come back, or this day and age takes a picture like I did and shares it. What about this? How about the top of those water heaters where you start to see this telltale sign in your facility? Now, as you can tell, it doesn't really matter what the material is. We've got some black pipe in there, some brass, some CPVC. All of it's being impacted in a big negative way from calcium scale. That's a powder keg. We don't want to walk away from that and not take care of it. Definitely not for too long, or you might be flooding out the entire facility. But this, my friends, is just the tip of the iceberg. Remember, here's that terrorist calcium scale. What lies beneath? Well, what lies beneath is where the real money is. This is where the impact has happened. This is where the true terror is. Even before it gets into your facility, water has to travel through a failing infrastructure like this. What a mess. That means whatever is coming through there as that solvent water brings with it into your operation, your facility. What's that mean? That means even if it didn't have scale before it got there, it's going to when it gets in your facility. And ultimately, what are we looking at here? It can shut you down. Imagine having to take out a piece of pipe that size inside of an operation and having to have a backup on that. How much downtime, how much cost is involved in that? It's terrible. So what's this compared to? Well, we're probably all know somebody that has been impacted by a heart attack, or you're familiar with how blockage takes place in your heart. Let's take a quick look at an analogy here, because that's my supposition, is that you're familiar with something like this. So what does that have to do with water? We'll take a look.
Heart attack, or myocardial infarction, is caused due to coronary artery blockage. Coronary arteries are the blood vessels which supply the heart with oxygen and nutrition. Over time, the inside of these arteries develop fibrofatty plaques of different sizes. These plaques are made of cholesterol and other substances floating through the bloodstream, such as inflammatory cells, proteins, and calcium. Many of the plaque deposits are hard on the outside and soft on the inside. The hard surface can crack or tear, exposing the soft, fatty inside. When this happens, platelets come to the area, and blood clots form around the plaque. The artery narrows further, and in turn there is less room for blood to flow through the arteries. Finally, this results in the occlusion of the coronary arteries, resulting in the death of the surrounding heart muscles. The patient experiences tightness, heaviness, or constriction in the chest.
Now, there's some relatively big words used in there that I don't necessarily understand all of, but I do know this, that I know people, and I've had personal experience with this recently with an uncle of mine who died due to this type of a disease, where he had so many blockages, was on tons of medication, had lots of stents over the years, and here's the point: he never took care of the underlying issue, and it eventually killed him. Here's the case, that this is happening. What you saw in those last pictures, if you're seeing that on the outside, this is what's happening on the inside. Just like that coronary artery and how that gets blocked off and then part of the heart muscle dies, well, the arteries of your facility are the pipes, and they are sending water. Without water, there's no life. The reason that you have a building, a business, an operation, or a town is because there's water there. If you don't have that water taken care of properly and everything that it goes through, eventually you're headed for shutdown. You're headed for a building coronary, a heart attack for your facility and your operations. So this is why it's important to bring this to top of mind. So what are we talking about here? This is what's been done historically, and I'm not here to push back and complain about the antiquated and inadequate systems. I'm just saying that there's a problem with what is currently being done. If we're throwing salt and chemicals at something, what happens on the other end of the equation? And by the way, it doesn't necessarily prevent scale. The first time somebody doesn't put salt in, or the first time there's a malfunction, that's when scale starts to build up immediately. And guess what? It doesn't take much. You can have just a small amount of scale build up inside equipment like water heaters, boilers, heat exchangers, pumps, cooling towers, and that could rob the efficiency of that equipment by up to 50%. That's huge. That's making the heart work a lot harder in the building and having a lot less productivity. So what are the options? Look at this. Salt softening, chemical injection. Okay, there's an ongoing cost to that. You may not be really noticing it that you think, but it's on your budget. And then what happens when something does break down? Well, now you've got that big giant piece of pipe scenario. You've got a remove and replace situation where you got to take something out and put something in. And what's that cause you? Downtime. Well, downtime is down money, because time is money. So you probably know the calculation. What if you can't have your facility operational, or certain rooms have to be sequestered because you can't use them? That's lost money right there, lost revenue. And what about mechanical contractors? How many of those do you have to have on speed dial to take care of all these different things? You don't want to have a half dozen people in and out of there all the time to just work on break fixes. And here's the thing, you got a waste stream here of EPA carrying costs. About every quarter they might stop in and tell you what your carrying costs are. Well, I got another word for that. To me, that sounds a little bit more like a order of protection or something. I moved out here to Indiana from New Jersey, and it sounds like Tony stops by once a quarter, so forget about it. We're going to just go take care of that. You pay me a little bit today. And the bigger underlying issue is it's damaging to the environment. This is just poor stewardship. So what, right? We're stuck in this forest. Well, can we see our way out? Well, wouldn't it be great if there was a solution? I mean a real one. An honest to goodness put it in once, walk away, maybe check in 10 years to see how it's doing. One that reduces your monthly expenses and the number of sales reps you have to see. What if there was something that, like that blocked artery, could be reversed? What if we could do something that reverses that? How about a solution that actually already is in place, that there's 4 decades of experience with and has hundreds of usages in large buildings and hotels and major financial institutions and industrial manufacturers, but really there's not been much talk in the U.S. about this? Well, good news. You're on the short list, and you're going to find out and be one of those fortunate people that learns that there is something that's going to get us out of this forest. There really is only one real solution. I'm talking about a sole source solution. That means there's only one maker. There's no salt, no chemicals, no energy, no magnets, so it's not something you've seen. If you say, oh, I've seen that before, well, not unless you talk to me, you haven't. It takes no extra footprint. And look at this. By the way, you're not the guinea pig, because there's 40 years of experience and 400,000 installs you just haven't heard about yet. Not only does it prevent scale, it actually removes existing scale. And we've got access to that, and that's what we want to bring in front of you at the right time. What's our whole purpose? Our whole purpose at Living Water is we are turning water into money. I'm talking about your water and your money. How powerful is that? Well, here it is. Every dollar you save is a dollar right to the bottom line. I learned that from corporate sourcing for 15 years in large pharmaceutical industry. You save money, it goes right to the bottom line. You might have to sell $20 to make one, but every dollar you save goes to the bottom line, and that's how we take your water and turn it into money. Isn't it time? I think it is. It's time that you cashed in. All right. First, number one, stop the attack in the arteries of your facility. That's right. There's going to be a form right here. You just fill out what your needs are. We're going to collect a little bit of information, and we're going to be able to help you minimize the impact. We'll figure out what the return is, how quickly you start saving money by stopping the attack in your facility. Next, if it makes sense, you probably know some people that have this issue too. Why not start a paid referral program with Living Water? We're going to help you get money to help us lead us to other people that we can help. And you may not actually manage or own or deal with the property and the facility you're in right now, but you might have a business that's complementary, and you see this all the time. You might say, hey, I walk by all kinds of situations on a daily basis where I see calcium lime scale, or I walk by an ice machine or a dishwasher or a kitchen, or I work in cooling towers, I work on heat exchangers. I'm always around this equipment. Why don't you find out how to add this solution that we have access to your line and start making money with it? I think it's time that you cashed in. So go ahead and fill this form out and make sure you're accurate. Send us the information, and we'll be in touch soon to help you start turning water into money. I'm Eric Neller with Living Water. Until we get a chance to meet face to face, let me just say, be well, friends, and stay blessed.